It's day 14 of President Bola Tinubu's presidency. Thanks for joining us on the program. I am Abosedi Adenira Deremi. You can join the conversation now on Twitter using the hashtag #First100Days. Remember to tag at TVC News NG and at Prof. Bosse TVC. Well, it's another June 12th Democracy Day in Nigeria, and one of the men who moved mountains to recognize the day as a federal holiday now occupies the highest office in the land as President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. His struggle and commitment saw him flee to safety to continue the agitation in exile for the military to cede power and allow democracy thrive. President Bola Tinubu earlier today addressed the nation with a speech many analysts have described as apt to Nigerian sufferings. In his address, the president was emphatic about his renewed hope agenda and the need for all hands to be on deck in addressing the many challenges the country is faced with. And now here are some of the president's words and points raised.
We celebrate a day that has remained a watershed in our nation's history, not just today, but for every June 12th. For the endless future that our beloved country shall exist and work stronger and stronger. Generation of Nigerians will always remember themselves that the democracy that is steadily going to become the defining essence of our polity was not gifted to us on a silver platter. We can easily recall the sacrifice and the martyrdom of Chief MKO Abiola, the custodian of the sacred mandate that was so cruelly annulled. He sacrificed his life in unyielding patriotic defense of the ideals of democracy, as symbolized in his choice by his fellow countrymen and women as their duly elected president. We remember Pat Al-Fedrawani, one of the heroes of our independence struggle, and Major General Shehu Musaya Adua, retired, who was silenced by the military junta while in pursuit of democracy. They gave their yesterday for the liberty that is ours today. The point is that we must never take this democracy for granted. On May 29, I gave effect to the decision taken by my predecessor in office to remove the fuel subsidy, the albatross, and free up the collective use of much needed resources, which had hitherto been pocketed by a few rich. I admit the decision will impose extra burden on the masses of our people. I feel your pain. This is one decision we must bear to save our country from going under and take our resources away from the stranglehold of a few unpatriotic elements. For your trust and belief in us, I assure you that your sacrifice shall not be in vain. Those of us who have been privileged to elect into public office at various levels in both the executive and legislative arms of government must recommit ourselves to offering selfless service to the people.
President Bola Tinubu in his Democracy Day address there. Let's now take you to the streets and see how Nigerians perceive the day.
The way things are going with the president, he has good intention, but we pray he tries to look downward to the masses, precisely the masses, because there's a lot going on.
We have been making sacrifice all the years, like from the time of Obasanjo till now. when will the sacrifice end? Let the government make the sacrifice and provide for the masses.
Grace, let him have a good cabinet so that they will help him work together and to achieve our aims, to take Nigeria to the level that we are expecting, because we have to be giant of the Africa, as we are calling ourselves as a giant of Africa.
And still on the celebration of Democracy Day, the Presidential Guards Brigade organized a special ceremony to mark the day. In attendance were the service chiefs and the Inspector General of Police, Secretary to the Government of the Federation, the President of the 9th Senate, Speaker of the 9th House of Representatives, Chairman of the All Progressives Congress, APC National Secretary, former Vice President to the winner of the June 12, 1993 presidential election, Babagana Akingebe, and other top government officials. The State House correspondent Femi Akonde was at the event, and he joins me on the program for more updates. Femi, happy Democracy Day to you. But before we get into that, we understand there's some breaking news from the presidential villa about the president signing the student loan into law. Talk to us about that, and then we get to the significance of this Democracy Day.
Okay, yes, Abosede, I would bring in a member of Mr. President's strategy team, Mr. Dele Alake, to give us a good perspective into the student loan bill just signed by President Bola Tinubu. The second bill signed just within 2 weeks of the Bola Tinubu presidency. Hello, sir, and happy Democracy Day.
Same to you.
Yes, President Tinubu, the breaking news we just having, President Tinubu has signed that student loan bill. He campaigned, during his campaign, he said this would be one of the first things he will do as soon as he assumes office. And with this bill now, where do we go from here? What's really in it for students, for youth, a lot of whom voted for him?
Well, as you rightly put it, this is a landmark achievement. And it's more importantly, a promise made and a promise kept. He did say during the campaigns that he was going to make affordability of education a priority. And that's what compelled his signing this bill, this student's loan bill today. I recall as a student in this country in the late 70s in the university that there was this issue of students' loan. We had students' loan. We had access to students' loan. Those who were indigent at the time had access to students' loan. But at that time, I think because of lack of data, massive data, the recovery rate was quite low. I think it was then later on scrapped either by the military or some other governments scrapped it. But Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the president, did feel the pain of indigentship. Those who are indigent in the society, who could not or still cannot afford access to education or school fees. So that's what really drove him. It's the humanity in him, so to say. So, to me, therefore, I think he should be well applauded for taking this bold step and making it a priority. And to boot, on Democracy Day, this is a veritable dividend of democracy being given to the students, to the youth generally, on them, and to the parents. Don't forget that it's the parents that actually pay the school fees. So this is a direct succor to the parents. So the benefit cuts across a broad spectrum of the society. I think it's remarkable.
Yeah, and clearly, sir, this would also increase the enrollment rate. We'll see a lot of people now being able to access education. And some people are saying that this is not the first time we're having policies in Nigeria. What is usually the problem is implementation. What should we look forward to in terms of implementation of these noble bills?
Like I said, part of the problems or the factors that militated against the loans in the past was the recovery rate, which was quite low. And that was because the data, there was really virtually no data in the country at that time. But technology has grown in Nigeria. Nigeria has really grown in terms of technology, in terms of IT. So there's a vast amount of data out there. You have your BVN, you have your NIN, you have your TIN, you have all kinds of data now available for the authority to monitor the recovery rate. And the idea is this is done all over in developed societies, all over the world. And that enables access, mass access to education. And once you collect your loan,
you pass through the tertiary institution. As soon as you get employed, because there is a massive database, efficient database, you are already captured. So, and the loans is interest free. So that must be emphasized. It is interest free. So even the repayment terms will be so generous as to be easy, to afford and to actually make you not to want to evade it. Now, incidence of evasion will be very low because it is minimal. The way you'll be paying it instrumentally spread over years. That's how it's done abroad in developed societies. That's how it will be done.
All right, then. Thank you so much, sir. Well, a good democracy gift for Nigerians. Thank you so much for your time on the program. Mr. Dele Alake, a member of President Bola Tinubu's strategy team, talking to us more about the bill that was just signed by President Bola Tinubu. And this bill passed third reading at the House of Representatives in February this year. It was sponsored by the Speaker of the 9th House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila. And now it's passed into law. Nigerians will wait to see the full implementation of these. And a lot of people, of course, are already waiting in the wings to begin to access this student loan bill. Abosede.
All right, Femi, let's talk about the Guards Brigade organizing a special ceremony to mark the Democracy Day. And we realized it's not a media event. I mean, it was not broadcast live. Talk to us about the rationale behind this.
Well, the presidency has said that this year's Democracy Day will be low-key, and that is for many reasons. But, it was for those that attended the event, it was worth the while just watching the military parade. It was quite interesting. We also saw Mr. President watching with keen interest. At some point, was even excited by the performances, both of the military from the Presidential Guards Brigade and indeed the cultural performances we saw during the whole small military event to celebrate Nigeria's Democracy Day. And then the dignitaries that also came, everyone was in high spirits. They had a lot of things to say about Nigeria's democracy. And one thing they all agree on is that indeed democracy has come to stay and that Nigerians should work to ensure that this democracy is preserved. They talked about the electoral system, how it has improved over the years. And so far in this fourth republic, there has been 7 democratic elections conducted in the country. And, everyone says that, well, those who are not happy with the outcome of any election can as well go to court, which they say is their constitutional right, and challenge the outcome rather than calling for a truncating of the democracy that everyone has come to enjoy. What they are saying, especially for those that experienced the dictatorship, the military dictatorship that's before 1999, and even the struggle to regain the mandate, that the election that was annulled in 1993. A lot of people that went through that experience are saying that, well, it's really set Nigeria back, and it's not something that should be experienced again. What they want is the deepening of democratic governance, strengthening of the institutions that support democracy. That is the Independent National Electoral Commission, the National Assembly, the judiciary, and all of these critical institutions that support democratic governance. They want the government of the day to begin to work to strengthen all of that. And they also say, like the first bill signed by President Bola Tinubu that brings a uniform age for judges. They say it's indeed a step in the right direction. This would also further energize Nigeria's judiciary to ensure that
everything
they also
that has to do with it. But we have to go at this time. State House correspondent Femi Akonde for us there in Abuja. Thank you for that update. There'll be more after this break. Please stay with us.
Bola Ahmed Tinubu do solemnly swear
Thanks for joining us on the program. Away from June 12 now, let's talk about the 10th Assembly inauguration on Tuesday. As at the time of filing this report, there will be contest at both chambers of the National Assembly, that's the Senate and the House of Representatives. The coast was clearer for Tajuddin Abbas as two aspirants, Mukhtar Batara and Yusuf Gagdi, stepped down for him yesterday while paying a visit to the president.
Right Honorable Mukhtar Batara Ali, Right Honorable graciously accepted to step down and endorse the candidature of Honorable Tajuddin Abbas for the speakership of the Federal House of Representatives. The President was quite touched by their gesture because what binds us together is superior to whatever that divides us. We are one big APC family, and together we shall cause the reform on Tuesday.
Well, that is for the House of Representatives. For the Senate, the governing party's choice of Senator Godswill Akpabio and Senator Jibrin Barau will have to contend with a host of other aspirants. Let's now speak to a former member of the House of Representatives, Honorable Bernard Miko. Thank you for joining us on the program. What exactly do you expect at the inauguration on Tuesday, especially with presiding officer's election?
Well, thank you very much for having me. I think the narratives we have had about the House of Reps, the seeming consensus in the House of Reps, have not been achieved. We've not had any about the Senate. And the events that we look up to as a former member of the National Assembly tomorrow will be very interesting. I have listened to stakeholders talk about the issue of a consensus by forces outside the chambers itself. I think it will be very unfortunate if people begin to set an agenda outside the National Assembly itself for the emergence of principal officers. If you cast your mind back to the period running up to the presidential primaries, we had all these narratives of how a particular aspirant from the north has been crowned, so to say, as the choice of the APC in Nigeria. But again, we also had swiftly by a progressive governors forum, APC governors forum, saying otherwise, that they would rather prefer, and they took a position behind the current president. I think that is what democracy is all about. Today is June 12th, a day that has been declared as a democracy day, because today, 30 years ago, one of the best free and fairest elections in the history of our country was conducted. And that election was conducted on a Muslim ticket. And of course, you know the anti-democratic forces that set aside that election. And the high point of it today is that one of the victims of the anti-democratic forces 30 years ago is now the president. And I was ecstatic to see him on the national television as president and commander-in-chief of the armed forces of Nigeria, making that broadcast. I think he understands how the National Assembly works. You, as a senator himself, his wife as a member of the Ninth Senate, he understands what democracy is all about. He understands the issues of fiat accompli, which he was a victim in the immediate past elections. So the concept of separation of powers, must be allowed, to play itself out. Interestingly, the two leading candidates, Akpabio and Yari, are all from the APC. And if you look at the antecedent of the whole thing, that presently you have in the three arms of government, you have two arms already in the southern region, and the next arm, it should be balanced. So we look forward towards a balanced federation tomorrow, so that our senators, looking at the situation, will now support Senator Yari to emerge as the next Senate president. Thank you.
Yeah, talking about the election of presiding officers tomorrow, just like the presidential election where many voted along religious and ethnic lines, do you see that play a factor in the election?
Well, I think we have all, over the years, we have all agreed that we have fault lines within our polity, which is basically religion. We have, if you say religion is going to play a part, why did Abiola today, 30 years ago, why was he elected with the Muslim ticket? I have, during that period, I attended a youth conference in Lagos about violence. And they said we should look beyond the religious sentiments in electing our leaders. And somebody just raised this issue. Oh, that why should he was of the NRC, of the SDP, the same political party as myself that time. And he said, oh, we shouldn't vote for Abiola. I said, look, he said, because he said, I said, we didn't come here, we are coming, we should look at the things that unite us. You see, if you begin to make that point now in our country's history, look at the states, because the federation is a virtual state. The main states, the federating units, are the core development units of our country. So if you look at the states, 36 states including Abuja, there are states where you have principally Christians from the governor to the last man in the civil service. Have they developed? Have they even implemented their budgets up to 30%? Okay, now look at some of the states in the north, where you have Muslim from governor to the last person. Have they also developed? Okay, look at in the middle belt, where you have a duration of the two, a mixture of either Christian governor or Muslim governor with Christian deputy and vice versa. Have they also developed? That shows you that nobody has taken the statistics that our problem in this country is religion.
So all right, so you're of the view that ethnicity and religion would not play a role in determining who the presiding officers would be. But I'm curious, do you have a preferred candidate among these aspirants?
Because if you look at the role played by progressive governors forum on the north, that even when the national chairman of the party took a position behind a northern candidate, and the other governors say, look, we want a southern candidate for balancing of our country. Today we have a southern president and also a southern chief justice of those two arms. So for me, and for most of the people I've spoken to, my former colleagues who are also in the Senate now, who will be inaugurated tomorrow, they said they are interested in voting for Senator Yari to balance the country.
All right, but then does it mean that having a president who is Muslim, a vice president who is Muslim, I mean, you're in support of having a president of the Senate who is also Muslim? Is that what you're saying?
Look, I said we have identified religion as our fault lines. Let me tell you, the president of the Federal Republic of Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu has a wife. And when we want to talk of religious tolerance, we should look from the families, the values for which we hold, not just coming out on the public, say, oh, we should get a Muslim here, we'll get another Muslim there, or Christians here. These things will not develop our country. Even a Christian, in the last dispensation, we had a Christian vice president. Does it change anything?
There's a criticism. Honorable Miko, there's a criticism against Senator Yari as being a first-timer. Does and should experience count or not in this decision?
Senator Yari was a member of the House of Reps. He was also a two-time governor. So he has a lot of experience, and he knows his limitations. So I think
then, Honorable Bernard Miko, a former member of the House of Representatives, thank you so much for talking to us on the program today.
Thank you very much for having me.
Before we go, let's remind you that Tuesday will be another important day in Nigeria's political space when the 10th National Assembly will be inaugurated. The complex is already wearing a new look, and we are looking forward to the event already. We'll see how all of that plays out. That's our program today. Watch a repeat broadcast at midnight and 6 a.m. on Tuesday. I am Abosede Adenira Aderemi.